take the existing and rehab what you've got there.
Yes, and so if you follow the plan, and the additional funding, then you're looking at sawing the street and putting that in there.
Yeah.
And I asked Mickey, and he's here to speak on it, I asked him to put the worst case scenario together, and this is where he came up with that quick estimate, because there are a lot of sewer crossings involved in there, and so some sewer adjustments may or may not be needed to put that larger box in there. And so Mickey's here to address those.
Yeah, just to clarify, Mickey Thomas, I'm J. Thomas Engineering, and just to clarify, I mean, if you go in and you fix the road right now, and then you want to come back and put in the drainage system later, you got to tear up all that cool new pavement you just put down. So we're just trying to think ahead to make sure that you know, you all at least have an opportunity to understand what's available with it. Yeah, and so I provided a little exhibit. It's 11 by 17 that I printed for y'all. You'll notice on here what's in red. This is the storm sewer line, and you know, kind of have to turn in that direction. I'm looking off PDF maps. But the storm sewer lines in red, and then in green are the sanitary sewer lines. As you know, a lot of these sanitary sewer lines were put in via pipe bursting over the last several years. But there's not a lot of manholes in there, so we don't know where a lot of those lines are. And based on the depths, talking with staff on the existing sanitary sewer lines that were pipe bursted, some of them are probably going to be in conflict because we have a 54-inch pipe and then it turns into a 42, goes all the way up here to Thurston, turns corners 27. The sewer lines are about 4 feet deep. We're going to hit every one of them with the storm sewer, odds are. So in order to accommodate that, what we've done is gone ahead and we talked with Gordon about it. One of the things we can do is put a manhole on each one of those crossings and then replace the sanitary sewer with a ductile iron pipe. We have that because otherwise you have to go back and tear out a whole bunch of sewer line and replace it to try and do that. Now, that's our thought at trying to bypass that thing. It's not obviously the best thing we want to do. But each one of those manholes are like $10,000. And then you've got money in there for the ductile iron pipe to replace the sewer pipe. So it just starts adding up a lot of money. Each one of the inlets up here, or each one of these bins, these are all different basins. So you're going to have multiple inlets at each one of these sections here as well. And so there's a substantial amount of work. It doesn't look like very much when you look at that sheet. I'm just telling you it's a lot of stuff. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Does the $2.1 million include all that too?
The $2.1 million includes basically the storm sewer, installation of the storm sewer. It doesn't include any relocation of any water lines. If we have to go off-site and do something with sanitary sewer, it doesn't include that. It doesn't include any paving or curbs and gutters or anything like that either. So
we don't have to know that before we apply for the grant.
We will, but there's a survey that has to be done on that, so we have to have some more information to be able to make final determination on it. We can throw some numbers at an estimate on it if you want us to, for what that might be, but...
Well, for the storm drainage, we're going to have it. But for this, I think what he's asking tonight is, do you want to proceed with paving and curb and gutter from Thurston to River Oaks Boulevard? And if you're saying we're going to end up tearing it up, I think the answer is no.
Yeah, and it's just one of those things. I mean, it's a financial decision as to, you know, do you want to do it now and then maybe this drainage doesn't come on for, I mean, y'all may not put this drainage in right now. You may not put it in for 10 years.
That's what I mean.
But it's, yeah, it's a financial decision that y'all have to make as to whether or not you want to do the drainage.
So we, you know, Gordon, I guess you know, we definitely don't want to cut out the streets after we pave them. But the issue is that drainage, you know, we've got lots of drainage issues.
Yes, sir.
Right? I mean, the south end of Merritt is, you know, a lake. So is this the worst drainage issue? I mean, should it be the top of the list as far as drainage?
When we rate drainage, it's basically what is affecting flooding and actual flooding in a house. This is flooding property, where it goes across property. No, I've not had any reports where it's actually entered any houses or anything at that particular point.
In this part?
In this particular.
Do you get reports at other places?
Yes, sir. I've got other where America do.
So it seems to me, based on that, this drainage project isn't one of the more serious, if we're gonna start throwing money at
As far as
drainage.
rating, if you were today to start throwing money at drainage, yes, that's the way I would advise you, is let's address everyone where houses are being flooded.
Right, so to me, like, I remember when we redid Long, you know, I don't know how many years ago, Marvin, do you know?
No.
I mean, it's when I lived up there, and I moved there in, Tracy, when did I move up there? 2003, so it was sometime between 2003 and 2013. My recollection is that Long was I don't know if it was taken all the way to dirt or not, but it definitely had blacktop put on it. Because there was dips, before that, there was really bad dips, we drove it all the time when we lived up there. But my point is that the life of that road, we may not have gotten to that drainage issue if we are addressing other drainage issues that are more important.
Correct. The life of the road, with new curbs and gutters that are in place, the life of a road is about 20 years if you do the maintenance on it. And that's where we're doing the maintenance. You voted to put those sealants on, and that'll extend that life and get it up there. Yeah, we're gonna have some further maintenance in probably about the 12-year period. We'll have to look on these new streets and make sure cracks are sealed. We gotta keep that up. And that's what we do with the maintenance, and the road life will last 20 years. And if I'm hearing you correctly, that the concern from, what do I see from the task force wants to address what's in the flooding houses and stuff. The magnitude of the cost is very extensive. You know, back when the master plan was done in 2003, I think, you remember the total, Marvin, estimate? Wasn't it 15 million back then?
Yeah, it was over 15 million.
Yeah, and I would estimate that now to be closer to 40 or 45.
So it's not reasonable that we're gonna be able to do that in the near future.
No.
Right? I mean, we've already issued bonds,
Correct.
right? I mean, we can't, there's, you know, only so much you can do with that. As far as this, I see total rehab costs, 2.5 million, and Tarrant County bond participation, 1.3. Does that 1.3 mean that 50/50 project? Or is it coming out of the bond money that we?
Is it on the Excel spreadsheet, sir? Look at the same thing what you're saying.
It's a memo from you dated 2/10/23.
Okay.
Background discussion.
Oh, yes. This is the summary from the actual provided Excel spreadsheet in the back, which breaks down every street. And what we presented, the rehab to Tarrant County, was a total of 2.5 million, and then when they participate 50%, it's the 1.2.
So to do this would mean we would go issue new bonds to cover our part?
Or we would reduce scope of project in our part. Once again, as we discussed, you know, when you were asking about the ceiling, you know, we look at reducing scope, maybe a street falls off or a situation there.
So Marvin, can you sort of help us out with what we need to be looking at tonight? I mean,
I think the main thing right now is to get it down to Thurston from 199.
the street,
The street,
repaving the street.
Repave
and
the
getting
street.
Curbs done. So what is
and maybe
that
do the
cost?
curb and gutter on the other to get that ready for the future, but
So what is
is that what you're after?
I'm here to whatever the best with what we have in front of us. And, you know, you've got a new businesses coming there. We also, this is something else that, the reason I brought it to Marvin, is we are working with the engineers on 183, and they're gonna be addressing drainage. And so in that particular area, they have this plan, so they're gonna see that. They're gonna see our problems. And what they do about them, we have yet determined. Mickey is on that monthly meeting with me and Marvin, and they have not expressed anything about drainage at this time. But they hear us talk about drainage.
Well, they hear us, but that's it.
we bring it up.